Sup guys, we are back, and this time is to review the Falcons Bengals game and give you guys some takeaways. Let's get right into it so I don't waste any more time than I need to. As you see here, the score was 13-13. The Bengals and the Falcons both had their own respective drives late in the fourth quarter. The Bengals were down 6-10, went down the field in like 6 plays or 8 plays, and scored a touchdown. The Falcons took around that many plays too. They kicked the field goal to go for the tie, and then the kickoff was a squib, so the Bengals had to return it and waste out the rest of the clock. So it would be a tie if the Falcons remain undefeated and the Bengals remain winless, 13-13. But there's a lot more things to this game than the score. Let's get down to the team stats. The Bengals lost to the Falcons in total yards battle, having 280 compared to the Falcons' 391. For passing yards, the Bengals only had 197. Do realize that Joe Burrow did not play, neither did Jamar Chase. Pretty much none of their starting players played on offense, despite most teams playing some offensive players. But the Falcons did have their starters in for the first drive and got 275 yards in total. Rushing yards, the Bengals were under 100 with 83, but the Falcons were over 100 with 116. Yards per play, the Falcons had 0.9 more with 5.8 compared to the Bengals 4.9. We're on the same amount of first downs. Falcons could not convert on fourth down, but neither could the Bengals. On third down, though, both teams were not very successful either. Falcons called more plays, allowed more sacks. Both teams playing the same amount of times. Falcons still have kind of a penalty problem. 13. Like, come on, that's as many points as you scored. Bengals only had 7, though, which still isn't, like, a little bit, though. Both teams threw an interception, and time of possession, the Falcons dominated that as well. That's it for the team stats. For player stats, let's start with the Bengals. I don't know who Jay Browning is. Let's find out Okay, Jake Browning. He was 16 of 22, 140 yards, and 1 interception. We'll talk about that more later. And Trevor Siemian, former Bronco, is still in the league. He was 7 of 14 for 62 yards. On the rushing attack, the quarterback Browning also had 4 carries for 50 yards. Very good game on the ground. C. Brown, who was Chase Brown. Also known as Chase Brown, was absolutely dog water. So was Evans, with only 2 yards per carry as well. Receiving-wise, their top receivers were Iosivas, Jackson, and Jones, and also the running back Evans had a couple catches as well. Everyone else only had 1 grab. On defense, Batchy had 5 total tackles, which led the team. Sacks for Jay Davis, who's not Jordan Davis, it's Jalen Davis. He's a cornerback? He had a sack. Okay. And 1 half sack for Johnson and Gunta, as well as a sack for K. Jones and Carney Jr. I don't know. I'm sorry, I don't know any of these guys' full names. I'm not going to go to each of their pages to see that. Asai, who probably you guys know from a specific play in Bengals history, he had an interception, which was a tipped pass that fell right into his hand. It was a great recognition play by him, and he got the ball for the Bengals in the first drive. We don't really care about kick returns and punt returns because, honestly, their kick returns were good, but one of them was basically a squib kick. Evan McPherson did get 2 field goals. And finally, for the Falcons, I don't know why his name is Howlock, but it's Taylor Heineke. He was 13 of 21 for 162 yards. Taylor Heineke game, honestly. Desmond Ridder in his first and only drive was 7 of 9 for 80 yards and a a tipped interception. Can't really blame it on him. And finally, Logan Woodside was 4 of 6 for 58 yards in his short time playing. Rushing, once again, Igwebuike had a good amount of yards and a pretty decent average of 4.4. Bijan Robinson in his first 4 carries as a running back had 20 yards and a 5.0 average. Carlos Washington had a rushing touchdown, and Heineke, Ridder both ran as a QB at least once or twice. Algier would have had better stats, but one of his runs was a penalty, which took some of the Receiving wise, we got Josh Ali for 39, Arcega Whiteside for 39, Xavier Malone, who has like 83 total yards, I think. Fitzpatrick got some time playing. He had 2 receptions for 30 yards. And London, the starting receiver for the Falcons, come September, he had 2 for 33, including an impressive catch. Carlos Washington also had 3 for 23 out of the backfield, which brings his total to 38 yards total. Defensively, Brooks and Helms both had a good amount of tackles with 6 and 5 respectively. An interception for DeMarco Helms, which is second of the preseason. And 1/2 of a sack for Scott and Justin Ellis, the former Giant. Not really anything too interesting in kick returns or punt returns. Koo did make both of his field goals, including the game-tying one near the end of the game. And that's it for stats. Let's get to my very important and correct takeaways. Our only positive takeaway, because I'm only going to do 3 for the preseason, is our starting offense looked really good. Now, you can point at the end of that drive and say, well, you threw an interception. First of all, that doesn't take away from the entire drive, especially considering it's preseason. And second of all, the pass was honestly just really well played by both defensive players that made a play on the ball. So there's not much Rick could have done there except for just not throw it. Which, it wasn't a bad decision. It was just not the outcome that you wanted. But that's really all I have to say for Ritter. Besides, he also did kind of seem to be he was throwing on the run a lot, and those throws kind of managed to reach around, and pretty much anywhere except for the receiver's chest. Pitts had to reach behind. I'm pretty sure Robinson had to do a one-handed grab. London as well had to do some pretty tricky catch. But it all about how he makes the target, how he makes the reception, and all that he needs to he needs to train on that during training camp in the last preseason game before the regular season. Bijan looks as good as advertised, pretty much breaking a tackle. Either breaking a tackle or making someone miss on pretty much every time he touched the ball. London looks really good. Oh my goodness, he was not letting go of passes. He did have a false start, but he can fix that. Top Pistons, 1 catch. It was just good to see him get that catch, and it was a pretty tricky one too. Offensive line didn't look bad at all either. So just all around a good day for our starting offense, and there only 1 drive that they played in. That's my positive takeaway. Negative takeaway, our red zone offense is inconsistent at best. We saw us in the Dolphins game. Sure, you might say 32 in 2 games isn't that bad. First of all, it is. 16 points. Preseason games are really low scoring. But if you're in the red zone and you're going for it, you want to get it. And it just happened too many times especially in this game, you saw it where we threw a pick. The Falcons have really struggled with red zone opportunities especially the last few years of Matt Ryan's career leading into this season. I hope that this doesn't stay the same, and when we're actually in the red zone in these 2 games, we actually can turn them into points instead of either missed field goals by Younghoe Koo or turnovers or just failing a 4th down conversion. But honestly, this negative one isn't that bad. I feel like it's something. Honestly, if it's one of the things, especially probably one of the worst negative things to have. Inconsistent red zone offense is what loses games. So I'm hoping that this is really mostly just the bench playing, and that 1 interception by Ritter doesn't matter that much. But we'll see. Speaking of things that we'll see, there's a question that I have to ask for this team. Who will make the team at receiver? Now, you might think this is obvious in Drake London, Matt Collins, and Scotty Miller. But then you look at pretty much everyone else, and there's some people who you think, they'll probably make the team. Once you get the 6th, the 6th spot, which is probably the only last spot for this team, it gets very, very competitive. If you already, look at these 3. Josh Ali, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Xavier Malone. Do you think all 3 of them make it? Because you might be forgetting someone named Cardell Hodge. He could definitely make the team as well. If we're only having 7 play, if we're only having 6 play, one of these guys are not going to make it to the team. If I had to choose, I'm not going to say yet. I do want to see the last preseason game before I make my judgment. But I love all these guys so far from seeing them play. I already know Cardell Hodge has the most experience out of all these players. But, yeah. Also, if we plan on getting Frank Darby, which I doubt it, I think only 2 of these players would make the team. Xavier, I don't know what we're going to do with Darby, but if he does end up taking a roster spot, it's going to be even harder to decide who plays for this receiver room. We're probably going to be you're going to be seeing like players like Sky Miller, Matt Collins be switching out in preseason week 3. I would assume, even though they're the stars, you're going to see them being switched out a little bit, just so Arthur Smith can get a little bit more information and tape from these 4 receivers that I've mentioned, just to see who he. Oh, and Sexton. He's a receiver too, I'm pretty sure. Looks like he hasn't really done much. But still, it looks like he's from the XFL. But still, what I'm saying is, these guys all want to make it to the team. I want all of them to make it to the team, but we know that's impossible. So I just wonder how Arthur Smith's going to find out who he wants to start. Help make the team. Because as you saw from last year, we had a lot of receivers on the different receivers on the field. We had London, Hodge, Bird, and what's the last guy? Zacchaeus. And I'm pretty sure I don't remember the last guy, but I'm pretty sure there's another guy who got on the field a little bit as well. So if that stands, that means we're going to be having 4 or 5 players play, which means that those 5th and 6th strings are going to matter. If we do have replacements with Pitts and Robinson and maybe even Patterson, but it doesn't mean we're not going to carry 6 receivers and that they're not going to get playing time. I think this might be one of the seasons where 5th and 6th string matter the most for the Falcons. And we'll see, but I think it's a very interesting question on who's going to start at receiver. Be the backup at receiver. But this video has been long enough. I'm going to see you guys next time. We're not doing the NFC South prediction video today since I didn't release this one early enough to make. I was hoping to make this video around 1, so by the time this video is made, I could have made the preseason the record predictions, but it did not turn out that way, so this is the only video that's going to be made today. Predictions are probably going to be tomorrow, though, so don't worry. See you guys next time. Get out of here.